I'm Chef Anakaren, and we're making tri-tip with a sweet potato hash and chimichurri. So I'm making tri-tip today. It's usually grilled. That's how I would suggest to cook it. But today, for the convenience, we're going to be searing it in a skillet and then finishing it off in the oven. To start off, we're going to go ahead and cook our sweet potato hash. We're going to start with 3 to 4 large sweet potatoes. We're going to peel those and dice those medium to large. And we're just going to lay them onto a baking sheet. Now, I would suggest using a large pan only because you don't want to cluster the potatoes together. Otherwise, it will steam and create sort of like a mushy potato. You want them to spread out so that they can roast and kind of have a nice coating to it. Now, I'm just going to add a little bit of oil. I lined the pan with a little bit of aluminum to save on dishes later. We're going to add roughly about 5 to 6 slices of bacon that have sort of cooked 3/4 of the way. We want to be able to finish them in the oven with the potatoes. I've cut up some green onions here for some freshness. I've minced 2 to 3 garlic cloves. And then, as always, we have to season every step of the way. So be generous. Potatoes will take a lot of salt and a little bit of pepper. I'm going to add just a little bit more oil, and then just with our hands we're going to go ahead and mix it. And it's going to go into the oven at 400 degrees. I've already preheated, and we will check it about 20 minutes or so. And I already have my skillet over here going pretty high. I'm just going to add a little bit of oil, not too much because there's fat on here. And I'm going to season very generously with some salt and pepper. Now remember, this is a pretty thick piece of meat, so when you slice it, you want to be able to get sort of that seasoning all the way through. Alrighty, now we're going to sear fat side down. And now we're going to sear this for about 6 to 8 minutes. We'll flip it, and then we'll put it in the oven, and we'll check it. At this point, we are ready to flip our tri-tip. Now be careful, you want to make sure that you grab it and then lay it down gently so that oil doesn't splash on you. There we go. Now I'm just going to go ahead and take this straight into the oven and we'll finish it in there. It'll continue to sear it while also cooking it internally. Now that we have the steak and the potatoes working in the oven, we're going to go ahead and work on our chimichurri. Just a little reminder, you are going to want to stir the potatoes around just a little bit to make sure that they're all getting nice and evenly roasted. We're going to start with about 2 cups of parsley and 1 cup of cilantro. Now, don't be afraid of adding the stems in here. They're just going to add flavor. It's going to get pulsed. So we're not looking for perfect here. Very rustic. Rustico. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of chili flake. This is all depending on your preference. If you like spicy, go heavy on it. If you don't like it, eliminate it. No big deal here, but I'm just going to add a nice big pinch. And then I will add about 1/2 cup of cold water. Cold water is going to keep that green color, and it's also going to add a little bit of liquid to the bottom of the blender so that it can really get that sort of pulsing going. I'm going to add some red wine vinegar. We're going to have to garnish with some salt and pepper. Now that I added my salt and pepper, I'm going to finish off by adding a couple cloves of whole garlic. You can just smash them. You don't need to chop them. The blender will do that for you. And now we're just going to quickly pulse it, and then we'll slowly drizzle in our extra virgin olive oil. Just a couple quick pulses. Now that I've pulsed it down, we'll go ahead and drizzle in some oil. And this will just kind of bring it all together. And you're going to have very chunky pieces of herbs, and that's totally fine. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for very rustic, homemade cooking. Okay, now let's go ahead and check on our potatoes and see where our steak is at. All right, it's time to check the internal temp of our steak here. Now, I do have a digital thermometer. Make sure that you do it on the thickest part of the steak. And let's see, we're at 132, so that's perfect. Now what we want to do next is pull it off of the skillet because it is hot and it'll continue to cook it. We're going to go ahead and let it rest on a separate container. All right, and then we'll just let that rest. What that will do is allow the juices to kind of go back where they need to, and it'll keep them all in there without going all over the place if we cut them too early. So just let that hang out for the next 15 minutes or so, and then I'm just going to go check on the sweet potatoes and make sure those are looking good. All right, so now that we have let our tri-tip rest, it's time to slice it. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this, bring it to a cutting board, and if you can see here, you always want to pay attention to the way that the grain is going so that you can cut across it. You never want to go with the grain, otherwise it's going to be chewy. And then just nice, easy, and long strokes. You don't ever want to saw your beef. It should just kind of go right through. Now this side was kind of running one way, so I'm going to switch it over to make sure that I am going against the grain. These are going to be a little bit longer slices because of it. And like I said, just nice and thin slices. All right, now it's time to plate. So I'm going to start off by plating our starch on the bottom. And then we're going to fan out the steak red on top, and then we will garnish with our chimichurri. All right, talk about a showstopper. You're going to be everybody's favorite with this dish. And then right down the middle, some of those juices and oil all over. And then I always finish with just a little bit more salt. And this is tri-tip with chimichurri.